Hey, everyone. I am super excited to be coming to you guys. You guys, I feel like we've been together all day. I mean, you might as well slip me a little bit of sweet potato pie, and some mac and cheese and some collards. Just gonna slip that through your screen because we've been in this thing all day today, talking about everything from having your voice heard to being the successful introvert. And now I want to bring to you a topic that is really near and dear to my heart because as a woman, and I know that I've been in the environment of my mother going through domestic violence and other family members going through domestic violent relationships. I I not only saw it firsthand, but I wished that there was something else I could do. At that point in time, I was not old enough to understand the processes, the 7 times before a woman leaves a domestic violent relationship, or she oftentimes will find herself um, fighting for her life, literally at the hands of her abuser. Uh, so I want to start this off and just share because it was almost a year ago or so, about this time, where I received a message from someone. You guys, I've been podcasting for 3 years. So connecting with people and, hey, Darlene, um, sharing my message, bringing interviewees on, authors and speakers. And it was about a year ago, I got a message, an email. Someone has seen, some of my podcasts, and he said that one of the women that I had interviewed had lost her life. It was a It was a murder suicide, domestic violent relationship. Her husband shot her and then shot himself, and I was shook, absolutely shook to my core. I cried. I was stuck in my seat, and I was almost in a state of disbelief that someone I had been so that I had connected to, someone I had literally, I think I had just like sent her a post, or connected, like said something on one of her posts, like maybe a week before, 2 weeks before, and she was gone. And it ripped me apart to know that this was not a woman who wasn't doing anything. This was a published author. This was a woman who was a speaker. She was an award-winning author, award-winning publisher. She had done so much in the community. She had other authors that she had published who were torn and ripped apart by this. And in that moment, I said, I gotta make sure that no matter what else we do as the World Voice League, that we make sure we give women who have been through abuse a voice. And that's why this topic tonight is so important. During the holidays, there is an increase in domestic violence during the holidays and special events. Super Bowl, um, Christmas, Thanksgiving. And so I wanted to bring this to your attention because I know, you know, yesterday was Thanksgiving and a lot of people were dealing with clapbacks, because Aunt Sally had so much mouth to ask you why you're not married yet and why you don't have kids yet. But not to just pay attention to the ones that were present, but did you think about the ones that weren't there? Come on. Look. Do you think about the ones that are not there? And so oftentimes we don't. Someone that says, I can't make it this year, even though we normally see them. do we go a little deeper? Do we ask those questions? And so I'm super excited to have the guest on uh, that's coming on for today, Dorothea Robinson. She does a phenomenal job in helping women out of domestic violent relationships. She is a multi best-selling author. She is an empowerment speaker. She is a coach for women who are in domestic violent relationships, as well as those who have come out. And I absolutely appreciate and love what it is that she does, because she has the conversation with women that many of us are scared to have. And so I'll bring in our guest for today, for this evening. Hello, 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 Miss Tia.
Hello, how are you? How's everybody doing? How are you doing today?
Oh my goodness, this has been an amazing day. We've had some powerful topics, discussions all day long, and to end it on this one, I think is the perfect way to end out our day on Black Friday.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a topic that people want to talk about. Some people don't want to think about. Some people shy away from it. All kinds of reasons why we just don't want to talk about it. But it is a conversation that we need to have because it's real, it's live, it's it needs to end, and the only way to end it is if we have conversations.
Most definitely. So tell them a little bit about yourself and why this is a topic that really hits home for you. Uh-oh, I think I lost Thea. I think I might have lost her. No worries.
They're not, yeah, I have no idea what's going on, but the internet
Not a
better
problem.
behave. It better behave. The internet better behave. But yes, it's a conversation that needs to be had. Um, today, and just in talking, I have the desire to make sure that people understand who I am in the way of how I serve or the service that I provide. I make sure that when I'm standing in the grocery line or if I am just in the midst of some people, that I don't rattle off, well, I'm a speaker, I'm a podcaster, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. No. I offer in the listening ear, I offer to be able to share with people that if you are in a domestic violent relationship or intimate partner abusive relationship, I am a listening ear. I will listen. A victim, basically all she wants to, or he, because men are abused as well, they just want to know that they are believed. Excuse me. That's it. They want to know that you believe my story when I tell it. That you don't necessarily have to understand what I'm going through, but you believe me. And a victim of abuse will look out for that one person who has that listening ear. They will divulge information with a person that they've either been watching. They will divulge information to that person who they believe they can trust. It's so super important when it comes to dealing with victims of abuse that you do not put yourself in the position of, well, you should have left long ago. I don't know why you stayed. That victim blaming, that victim shaming, and you may not be doing it intentionally. Really, you may not. But because we get, and women, because we're nurturer, we get so entangled in the emotion behind, oh my gosh, they've got to get out. Oh my gosh, the hard that they're going through. Oh my gosh, how can I help? How can I assist? And we get so involved in that that we tend to put ourselves in, this is what you should do. This is where you should go. If I were you, I would do this. And it's not about that. See, victims of abuse need to be listened to. And the bottom line, when it comes to planning, they're the ones that are going to have to make the plan. Now, yes, most often it is an absolutely necessary, you know, idea of them having assistance to guide them along the way and to help them get to that safety shelter or that place that's going to be a safe house for them. Yes, they should have coaching. They should have someone who's going to help guide them along the way. But the truth be told, the planning that goes into that, they're the ones who are going to be planning because they know their abusers the best. They know their triggers. They know when they go to work and when they come home. They know every fine detail about their abusers. Other people don't. So when plans are being made, they are in the forefront of the planning, the escape planning position. It is our job, for those of us who are on the outside looking in, it is our job to put ourselves in position to listen. Absolutely listen. And with that information that you are being entrusted with, that it doesn't go any further than you, other than getting that information to the necessary people who are going to make sure that she's safe. The information that you get does not go to your husband or your own children. It doesn't go to a family member. It doesn't go to your neighbor and or friend. That information she or he has entrusted in you to hold on to it and to be there as a support person, whatever that looks like for the victim, not you. Again, what that looks like for the victim, not you. So if we're going to put ourselves in position, be there, be the listening ear. I am in no way saying that you have to solve that problem, because domestic violence is dangerous. The longer a victim stays, the more risk that she runs, dying. The longer you stay, you run the risk of your life ending at the hands of your abuser. It's super important to get out. And the best made and laid plans are those that have the best success rate. Yes, it takes, usually according to statistics, 7 times before a victim finally stays out. Finally stays out. So patience, listening ear, being present, keeping that information confidential, and knowing that if she leans in and says, I'm being abused at home, that does not mean that you have to solve that problem right away. That doesn't mean that you have to go in with gangbusters and go in attacking the abuser and stripping her out the home and all of, no. We're not asking anybody to be the heroes in this situation. The best thing that you ever could possibly do for a victim is be that listening ear and just saying, I believe you. I believe you. The community at large needs to better be able to be willing to have conversations, to be able to be open about domestic violence and intimate partner abuse, be willing to get, training and to get correct information. And guess what? Sometimes You've got to look in your own backyard, even within yourself, to ask yourself, is there anything that's going on in my particular world that I need to deal with first? Do you have, history of domestic violence that runs through your home, and are you affected by that? Are you willing to look at your own situations and ask yourself, am I healthy enough to be in a position to help and assist another victim of abuse? Most victims, they become survivors, and when they become survivors, they want to go out and help the world. That was me until I got coaching. That was me. All I knew is that I wanted to help every woman who was in a domestic violent relationship. That's it. I don't want to do anything else, just that. But the reality is, there are 8 different categories within domestic violence, 8 of them. The reality is, there are millions of people victims of abuse. The reality is, every 9 seconds, a woman is being beaten somewhere in this world. The reality is that there are states within this here United States that it is legal to beat your wife. The reality is, I couldn't help everybody. So I had to have a coach to be able to bring me to the point. I understand you want to help everybody, but you can't do that. To be most effective, you've got to niche down to the point where you are most effective. See, otherwise you would be all over the place, running around trying to help everyone in every category, in every situation, and in every sex, or in every sexual orientation. There's so much, it's impossible. So to be most effective as an advocate, I had to be laser focused for the people that I can help and be the most effective with. I'm still yet going through a rebranding, because I'm now learning, even yet and still through my journey up until this point, even that there's another group of people for whom it is that I believe that I can assist even the more better. That's correct English, but I said it. Even the more am I able to effectively help them even more than I've been doing before. I have had the pleasure of seeing near 100 people, over 100 women, to make the mindset shift to say, this is a domestic violent, intimate partner abusive relationship, and it's time for me to go. I have been able to know and understand where my strengths are and where my strengths are not. I'm mentioning all of this with a purpose. As survivors, excuse me, we want to help everybody, but it's impossible. I mention this because in your advocating, to advocate the best is to advocate the way that you are familiar with, where you are trained, and where you are going to show up on a consistent basis. If you are, wanting to help everybody, it's not flying. But if you know that you can advocate for a survivor of abuse and show them and walk them through how to begin businesses, or you can walk them through and show them how to become an advocate, or you can walk them through helping, children who have been abused. If you have an expertise in a specific area, that's where your best success is going to be, versus fighting to do something that you're not familiar in. So if you know how to swim in water, then swim in the water. But if you don't like getting in the tub because you don't like water, don't do it.
Come on.
You're not going to be effective. You're not. I know that the emotion behind it, and there's a lot of passion with survivors when they get out, because They just know and remember their experiences. And that's a good start. I'm so thrilled when, survivors say, I want to help and I want to reach back. That very same fire, I want them to carry that through up until they reach the point of knowing exactly how they should be advocating. They will be the best advocates. Why? Because they've been through some stuff. They understand. They will be great advocates because they're able to reflect back on their experiences and share with, the people for whom it is that they're serving, that they've been through this or they've been through that. There's a relationship that they will be able to make great connections. So they'll be effective. So how many of us have been, to a class, and so your teacher is trying to teach you how to, I don't know, how to crochet, and you have some knowledge of crocheting. You get there waiting for the teacher to show you some new stitch, but they've never picked up a needle in their life. You're not listening to that teacher because they don't know. They don't understand, is my point. Advocating is so needed, so important. Advocating for those who are not able to really absolutely get out on their own. Advocating for those who who don't have a voice. That's why I'm so thrilled to be a part of the World Voice League, because Altavis is given a platform for voices to be heard. Being, in domestic violent relationships, intimate partner abusive relationships, your voice is gone. What do I mean? You no longer have the ability to say what you want, when you want, how you want. No, you're told what to do, where to go, how to go, and when you should go. Your voice is gone. And so when you're advocating for that victim of abuse, when you're advocating for her or for him, you're giving them a place to be able to have a voice. And when you go through training and when you go through the journey of the past of being a victim, and you put the two together and that gets meshed, it becomes something beautiful to be able to assist others who basically feel hopeless, basically feel voiceless, they feel powerless. And when someone walks into their life, that advocate, that coach, that mentor who says, I understand completely. I understand the emotions that you've been through. I understand some of the feelings and some of the pain that you've been through. And when you finally hear that from someone and they're moving in the direction that you want to go, you tend to listen. And then the ability, when you learn that you have the ability to go, and then you see what you've created, and when you get that all of that to work, and you see that people are really interested in what you have to say, it's a newsflash to your mind. It's a shock, like, my gosh, people are really interested in what I have to say. People are interested in my speaking. People are interested in my programming. It's a culture shock because for so long you didn't have it. So platforms such as this, is amazing, because for those advocates who are on the road to, I want to be more effective, I want to be most effective, I'm thinking of creating a small business in this. I'm thinking about maybe sharing my experiences through speaking or through event planning or through, writing a book. The ideas begin to pop that maybe never had before. So you've left the world of, I just want to help and assist, and are effective to,
Mhm.
now where else can I go with this?
Exactly.
That happens when you have platforms, places where you can do these things. Now, mind you, there are platforms out there There are platforms out there where you think you have a voice, but you don't. You're told what to do, when to do it, how to do it. You can come in, but you can't say anything. I want you to watch everything that I post.
Hmm.
I want you to come in and I want you to listen to everything that I do. There's no interaction. There's no opportunities that are presented. There are no, no programming or just, little outlets or webinars where it's engaging.
Well, now let's talk about that though, because a lot of times the reason why there are platforms like this, and one of the reasons why I was so adamant about creating the World Voice League was because I saw literally, like physically with my own eyes, saw women being triggered by the coaches that are out here. And I know that, we started off talking about the holidays, and because and it all ties in together. Just stick with us for a minute. It ties in together because a lot of women and men are being triggered by the coaching that they're receiving. And right now is a high time for when people are going and getting all these programs. And the reason we started off by talking about, the holidays is stress increases the amount of domestic violent calls. So during this week into next week, there'll be a higher rate of calls. During the Super Bowl in February, there'll be a higher rate of calls. And most of us, we don't think about those things. We think if somebody says they're not coming to the holiday cookout, oh, they think they too good, or they just too busy. And that's not always the case now, especially now with everything that's been going on. But that's not always the case.
I wrote a book last year. It was last year. Did a webinar. Excuse me. And the title of it, You Don't Have to Go to Big Mama's Dinner Party. You are not obligated to sit at the dinner party when you know that your abuser is going to be there. You don't have to put on that face and sit across the table and put your feet underneath the same table just because Big Mama said you got to be there. No. If it's putting you in such a way that your emotional wreck, stress happens, no, you are not obligated to put yourself back into having flashbacks. You're not obligated to sit there just because it's Big Mama. When you talk about respect, again, where you go to be effective, to be that that expert in your area, your lane, so to speak. You're not obligated to go outside of that. If you've received, continue to receive, as you should if you're a victim of abuse. When you receive and continue to receive good coaching, mentorship, therapy, and it's advised that you don't, put yourself back into going backwards into harmful situations. Sitting at the table for any dinner party or for any gathering that Big Mama says, or the patriarch of the family says, you got to be there. No, I don't. And when you explain why you're not showing up, stand by. Don't fall in the way of, oh, I have to go because they said. No people pleasing here. When you say no, let your no be no. It is a complete sentence. There's a period that falls behind it. That's it. I'm not partaking in that party because I choose not to. That's fine. It's the same way with, again, we started to say with some of these groups or some of these programs or some of these memberships, or wherever you feel as though you are being badgered, wherever you feel that you find yourself having slips of moments of flashbacks of being abused because of the current place that you're in, it's time to rethink that. It's time to be, 2020 is going to be here. And in an interview today on the World Voice League, someone had mentioned this is not just a new year, this is a new decade,
Exactly.
a whole new decade. We know, we say it all the time. The definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and
And
expect to
different
change.
result. That's right.
If you want a different result, then you have to do something different. That even means if you have to, even though it may feel painful because you're used to continuing in the same mentorship or the same going to the dinner party year after year, knowing that your abuser is going to be in the room, it's time to change up things differently. And so that's what's prompted me, even in the things that I am, preparing myself to do in my rebranding, is really, really look at doing things different, because the audience in which that I speak to, they're needing something different. They need different attention. They need different abilities to share who they are, who they serve, and how they serve. And in making, and creating products and services for our clients, we've got to be mindful of where they've been. We've got to be mindful of some of the things that they may react negatively to because of their past. That's knowing your audience and knowing your clients and knowing the people for whom it is you serve. Every client is not the same client. Every client is not the same experiences, and people are going to react differently. Yes, but in general, if you're speaking to a particular group of people, the people that you say are your clients, it's important to know them. So it's important to know, for instance, that you're not going to say, you better show up to dinner and you better come, no ifs, ands, or buts. But and realize that someone who has hurt them from the past is going to be there.
And you know what it is? I think that a lot of times, and this is just an honesty thing, but I think a lot of times family members want to be oblivious to what's really going on. And they don't really want to touch on it head on. It becomes the family secret. It becomes the thing that's kind of talked about in hushed tones over dinner or at family gatherings, the cookout, the family reunion, things of that nature. And it's hard because we'll talk about it to belittle somebody for staying, but won't talk about it because we need to find a way to get them out or find a way that we can help them. And I found that as individuals, people will go and they will still share messages from exes that are domestically violent. They'll still go and think that everything is okay and that you all can just sit down and they don't really see what's wrong. But you have to understand that, again, a trigger is going to be something. It can be a conversation, it can be a song, it can be a place, it can be a smell, it can be a certain food, it can be a certain show. And so a trigger can happen at any time. And so a lot of times, those who have been through domestic violence, they will not show up to your event. They will not show up to to the family cookout. They won't show up for Thanksgiving, even if they're no longer in it, because Uncle Ray wears the same cologne that your ex wore.
Polo cologne to this day, if I walk into a store, I have to walk out. Anything from Steely Dan, Stevie Nicks, that 1980 era, I have tools set up in place that I have to talk myself through. And if I can't do it, I know what numbers to call to trusted people and friends. So you bring up something so super interesting. And that's where mentorship and that support behind you comes in. When you have that moment of, okay, I'm good, and you're going on about your daily business, and just as you said, a smell, a taste, a cologne, a sight, it could be somebody who resembles almost 1,000,000% of the abuser, and you're minding your own business, but just the sight can trigger you in a hot minute. And so if you have good support, good listening ear, someone who's the great coach, that great mentor, that great person that you can rely on and say, listen, just hang with me for a minute and just talk to me, because I just need to step out of this flashback. I just need to get out of this moment for right now. It's not going to be long if you know what to do, if you have tools in place, if you have people in place. That means that you have to do proper planning so that when they happen, you know exactly where to go. You know exactly what arsenal to use in order to get yourself unstuck. It's so super important to do proper planning, because it will happen 10 years out, 20 years out, hey, even 30 years out. You could flashback. This thing goes on forever. It is just not. Now, this is a clarity moment for most people. It is just not. You get out the next day, you spend a week recouping, and then the following week, you go on and move about your life. Think about it. So, you've been in a relationship for 10 years. You've heard for 10 years that you're nothing, you're no good. The gaslighting has been going on for that entire time, and you are told that you're worthless. And so when you get out, a week, 2 weeks go by, a month goes by, and you wondering why you cannot get unstuck. Listen, 10 years of the negativity, the pain, the hurt, the heartache went in. You cannot expect, the community cannot expect, the family cannot expect her to snap out of it like in Moonstruck with what's my girl Cher, when she slapped the guy across the face and said, "Snap out of it." It's not going to happen that way. 10 years of negativity going in. It's going to take some time in order for mindset shifts to happen, and they have to happen. And so there are behaviors that, victims have learned while they were in, and they have, brought that suitcase along with them from that relationship, from that experience, and brought over to survivorship, if you will. They still have that, behavior packed away in their luggage. And all of that has to be unpacked. All of that has to be separated. All of that has to be put into its place. And they have to begin to understand why they react the way they react, why they do things the way they do or don't, why they procrastinate. There are reasons why the behaviors of while they're survivors, they do what they do because of and directly related to what they've learned and picked up while they were victims. So it is not an overnight slap in the face, wake up. It is something that has to be worked on an ongoing basis. And ultimately, if not, with the children, if the children watched you go through the things that you went through, trust me, they too have little luggages
Exactly.
that they brought along as well. They have to be unpacked and deciphered. And so you have to understand, if you've got some undoing to do, the children have some undoing to do. We cannot expect them to right away snap out of it and let's get the good grades, and snap out of it and let's have the right behavior and stop getting into trouble all the time. They need assistance as well. That's what again goes back to, and good good mentoring, good therapy, good coaching, good support to keep you supported, to keep them supported through this whole process. And it is a process. It is a journey. And some people, we say, enjoy the ride. Well, wait a minute, I just came through hell, literally. I don't want to ride that ride again. But the unpacking doesn't feel good, but guess what? It will land you to a better place.
One of the things that you touched on was the gaslighting. And I have to make this statement that I think during the holidays and during the holidays, during big events, I feel like we're in a society where part of that gaslighting is the media. Part of that gaslighting is the media not willing to cover what's going on because it's more important that people are fighting for a $99 television than the fact that women are at an increased rate of losing their life because of that $99 television.
Yeah, it makes better news.
Exactly. And so here we are in a society that focuses more attention on the Super Bowl and not the women who are losing their lives, or even worse, the ones who are coming up missing,
It's
completely missing because of the human trafficking that's going on. So it's like almost like, okay, even we look at the family structure and they don't understand what's going on. We look at the media and they have their own personal agenda. And so it's like, oh my goodness, which way do we actually go? And that's why I said, with that boom of coaching online, a lot of people found themselves going and connecting with people because live streaming and social media allowed you to know, like, and trust people quickly
right,
without you really knowing someone.
right.
And you got to know, like, and trust an avatar of who they really were, because many of them showed up with a smile on their face, and that's how people ended up being re-triggered, because it's the same scenario all over again. Nice smile, talking real good to you, and telling you everything that you want to hear, and they want to see you successful, and they want to see you do some amazing things. And then when you get behind the scenes and you're behind the veil, now all heck then broke loose. Now they're cussing at you. Now they're talking down to you and belittling you. And I tell people, I said, it's sad. It makes me sad because people don't know until they get into that scenario. And then when you try to tell them and show them, they don't understand it until they've already been triggered or hurt.
And they're left affected. They're left bewildered. Why did I even get into this in the beginning? This is not going to work. See, they just confirmed what he said all along, that I'm this and that I'm that. And so why do I even move forward anymore? That, let me just do, the 9 to 5. Let me not start the business, and let me just do the regular thing, and just exist, when all of that is not true. It's sad. It is so super sad to move into an area, place, in their space, and trust someone where you believe that, okay, I'm finally on the road of, I am not who he said I am. I am not, you know, looking like what I've been through. And so I'm going to move forward in this. And then you find, like after we said, behind the veil, uh, but that I'm back in hell again. Good mentorship, good coaching will promote you to think outside the box, will encourage you all of the time to think for yourself and to create yourself. Good coaching, good mentorship will never tell you what to do. Good coaching and good mentorship will never, ever, ever leave you feeling less than who you are. They will always show you your greatness. And it's important to know that, yes, there's some people out there who have great intentions, who may come a little harsh, who may come a little hard, who are pushing you off the cliff. That's healthy. Done in the correct way, that's healthy. But when you feel less than human, so to speak, and you're being belittled, badgered, bullied, you're in the wrong place and space, and you need to run and run quickly. Um, when we speak about the media, you're absolutely right. The media has a great and excellent way of having you, placing you, and moving your heart to sway one way versus the way that it really needs to or should. I know, have seen too often where there have been murder suicides where the abuser shot and killed his spouse and then turned the gun on himself. And so the coverage very rarely will mention domestic violence or intimate partner abuse. They will right away talk about mental illness. And so, in that interview, when they're going and describing the horrific scene, what was found, and how many children were left, or they will talk about the gory details, and then they will talk about mental illness. If you need help, reach out. If there were more places for therapy regarding mental illness, they'll talk about that versus the real situation at hand, which is intimate partner domestic violence. They will not mention that. Why? In my mind's eye, because it's not sexy. In the way of it won't sell. In the way of nobody really wants to talk about domestic violence and intimate partner abuse. Why? Because, and I'm going to say it hits home. It doesn't create, a place where more spectators are watching. But mental health will be discussed all the day long. Let me be clear with this. If there's anyone out there who may wonder, well, it was a mental health issue that he killed his wife and turned the gun on himself. No, it was not. It was about power and control. Power and control, that's it. It's not about because they're he may or may not have had schizophrenic moments or combative moments, or it may have been the stress that the work quit, that job quit, and he didn't have any income coming in, or there may have been some other outside factor that caused him to murder his wife and turn the gun on himself. No, it's strictly all about control. How am I able to say that? Because the ultimate control would be, well, I'm going to kill her and the children, and that will alleviate one problem. And then I'm going to turn the gun on myself and kill myself. Then that way we don't have to worry about distress. We don't have to worry about whatever he was worrying about. The bottom line is his decision to take control over the current situation. Domestic violence will always be about control. And it's unfortunate that the news media very, very rarely will mention domestic violence and intimate partner abuse. And so in the interview, when you're speaking about mental illness, guess what you're doing? You're swaying the audience, turns them completely to the left, and has them thinking about mental illness, domestic violence, and mental illness versus domestic violence.
Right, and it's not to say that the two cannot be combined. That's what we
Right,
were saying. The
right.
two can be combined, but why is the focus just on the one and not on the other? And one of the things that I applaud Dorothea, and I saw that Michael Gibson shared out the stream. Thank you so much for sharing it out. Is that literally they were able to come together and create something amazing. And I think I'll share it over on my platform and share it on the YouTube channel as well, where one person, which was Michael Gibson, watching what Dorothea was doing when it comes to helping women who have been in domestic violent relationships get out, advocating for them, doing the telesummits, creating the books, opening up all of these opportunities, that he said, I want to do something. I don't know what I can do, but I write and I make videos. Let me use what I have, because this is what we talked about earlier in the stream. For those of you that are just coming in, we appreciate you guys. Let me use what I have to be able to help and bring a voice to the women who are in domestic violent relationships. And so it's called No Not Ever. And if you put in the hashtag No Not Ever, you'll see the video, you'll see posts. Michael actually has the No Not Ever video on his page on Facebook, the Biblical Poet page, and also on his YouTube channel. And the reason why it was so significant, because he got to say it from his perspective as someone who was not who was not an abuser, but who was looking at someone else and saying, I don't want this to happen anymore. And then was able to turn to his wife and his daughter and say, not mine. Able to look at his mother and say, not mine. It won't happen to mine. And the piece of that poem that really completely stands out is when he says that, not my mother, not my sister, not my daughter, that no, not my wife, no, not ever. And it was a moment where I felt like it's being heard. The message is being heard. Somebody else gets it. It sparks something for someone else. And it was so significant. I think the video has over 8,000 views. If you go check it out over on his page, when he originally posted it, it was significant, because guess what? This is what it is.
I think it's interesting. But so if you didn't know what an advocate looks like, that's somebody who didn't have training. That's somebody who didn't sit in DV classes. It was someone who had a heart and said, these are the skills that I have. And if I use them properly, somebody will hear them. I promise you, from his ability just to put his skill to use, that people have reached back to him and said, because of what you did, because of the voice you used, am I able to use my voice and share with you my experience? That's advocacy. Done his way, done the way in his expertise, done the way of where his heart led him. He didn't go outside of the box, so to speak, and advocating the way I advocate, or advocating the way Health Abuse advocates for those who need to have a platform for to use their voice. He saw something, he took a challenge, created within himself to be able to do something in the area of domestic violence and intimate partner abuse. He looked within himself to say, I'm listening to what it is that she's broadcasting. I'm hearing this, and all that I know is not my mother, not my wife, not my sister, not my child. No, not ever. And from that, what was in his heart, he put to a video, and the video has gone out, and it has reached over, I believe the last numbers that we looked at were over 12,000. 12K. People saw it, were moved by it. That is called advocating. He saw something that should never happen, and he gave and sent a challenge out to those who watched it. And they took it, they looked at it, they watched it, they connected, and guess what they're now doing? They're sharing the video so that someone else can be moved by it, be touched by it, and have their lives changed. That is what advocating is about. That's about staying in your lane of expertise, and making a difference right where you are. So in the work that I do, helping and assisting women to change their mindset about being the victim of where they are, to help them with the mindset and shift them from being a victim to becoming a survivor. And then within being a survivor, as we talked about earlier, knowing and understand that you don't have to be stuck there. That is not your call. That is not your lane to, go in 9 to 5, come home and vegetate, and the weekend vegetate, and do that over a week, a year, 12 years, to be stuck there. No, we all have a call in our lives. We all have something, to do in our lives. We have a responsibility and obligation to be our better selves. And in order to get to that place, you should have people who support you, and support you in the way that you need it to be supported, so that you can grow to where it is that you need to go and grow. Where I am today, currently, with, having to assist women, over 100 of them, to get free, to get safe, to be able to speak to the people in the audiences that I do, both nationally and next year internationally. I've been able to help women in other countries. I am where I am because of support. I am where I am right now because I had someone say to me, I know and understand that you've been in an abusive relationship for 30 years. I know and understand and realize that you may think this way about you, and you continue to think that way about you. I know and understand that you feel that you're never going to be able to reach your best place. I know and understand you may not even realize what that looks like, but I'm here to support you. I'm here to hold your hand. I'm here to give you that gentle nudge, although it doesn't feel gentle at times. But the reality is we all need someone to be in our corners for real, and not just to be in your corners to receive the dollars and cents month after month. Not just to say that, you know what, I'm in this certain particular group that's really popular, or I'm in this certain, this circle, and it's the most popular circle, and I'm here so that I can go ahead and move forward. But you're not going to move forward in the correct way because you are a carbon copy of somebody else. Support. That is what a victim of abuse needs, is support. That is what a survivor of abuse needs, is support. They need to know and understand that they are believed. Someone who's wanting to start out in a business, and you've been a survivor, but you want more, but you just don't know what. They need to be believed and to be heard. See, the relationship, the correlation is so similar that even while you're out, you go through some things and you hit snags and you hit pitfalls, and you might resort to some past behaviors. But if you have great support, that listening ear, new worlds will open up. That's the same thing for the community as it comes to domestic violence and intimate partner abuse, is that if the community can be educated on why she stays, and she stays for valid reasons, or he stays for valid reasons, if they begin to understand why a victim does or don't do what they should or shouldn't do, if the community can be educated and know that from this week, as Altavis alluded to, all the way up to Super Bowl, this is turn up heat time. Winter months, everybody inside. Lots of merriment and party. Alcohol's flowing. And so we see a rise during this season every year, unfortunately, of reports of intimate partner abuse and domestic violence occurrences. So let's get out and get the support that we need. Let's get out and be willing to be educated so that we can serve someone properly. Even if you've never been in an abusive relationship, even if you haven't had that happen in the family, if you are an employer, it's your duty and obligation and responsibility to make sure that your employee who you believe has an abusive mate at home, that they get their proper assistance. We need to be educated. We need to understand what this thing called domestic violence and intimate partner abuse is about, because it affects all of us everywhere, all around the world. Unfortunately, it's here, and we're stomping the ground to end it, allowing people to have voices. But it's our duty, responsibility, and it should come from the heart to make changes as it relates to this plague, this nasty, ugly plague that plagues the world.
You said it right there. Like, it's something that we when we understand what it is that we can do in order to help, in order to empower, in order to educate. This stream is, us advocating. The conversations that we have, the books that have been published, all of that is part of us advocating and really taking it to a next level and saying that whole hashtag no not ever. And that's what that is really standing up and going above and beyond just the normal conversation, but looking for action to be taken. And so for those that are here that want to connect with you in some way, Thea, give them some ways that they can connect. And also, what do you have going on for Black Friday as well while you're here?
So if you want to connect with me, you can connect with me. I'm all over social media as Dorothea Robinson, and Thea Robinson to be exact. If you would like to talk to me, have a conversation, love to listen, you can do so at bit.ly/talk with Thea. And I've got, laid on my heart to be able to connect with women. And we just did a 30-day challenge. It was awesome. Had people connecting with themselves, understanding some things that they didn't know about themselves, and understanding some of the potentials that were before them, and new avenues and ideas that they were, absolutely so super excited to see what they can do in the area that they connected to. It's like, light bulbs went off. And so that has prompted me to continue the train, just being able to allow, for a place and a space for survivors of abuse to come on a weekly basis, just to be able to say, okay, these are the ideas that I'm thinking about, not quite sure of knowing how to go about it, as well as checking in on their heart, where they are with themselves. And so there is a membership group that's going on right now. Currently, it is just right now for up until, I want to say, the last week of December, New Year's 2020, it's going to be changing. So right now, it's currently $9.97. and that's crazy. But I wanted to be able to have a place and a space for people to be. So if you would like that information, go to bit.ly/one more freed. And there in the store, you can find it. It says membership. And it is Life After Domestic Violence membership, where we come on a weekly basis, just bearing our whatever. It's not necessarily gloom and doom, but it's about, when we reach new places and things within ourselves, we need a place and space for that. And like-minded women, women only, sorry guys, women only, where we're going to come in and check in weekly and keep moving forward in the way and how we should go. So that's bit.ly/one more freed, FREED.
That is amazing. I absolutely love it. And you guys, those of you that have come out of the domestic violent relationship, just same way that I've worked with Dorothea, I would love to work with you in finding your voice and being able to be that speaker. Right now we have our Black Friday sale going on, and our course, it's a 10-week speaker intensive where I literally take you through everything from niching down on your target audience to creating content, live streaming, podcast interviews, everything and anything, in order for you to really make this something that you can do. I know a lot of times we see people that are able to share their message, share their, what they've been through. And, you're like, oh my goodness, I wish I could get up there and do what they did. And you absolutely can. If you go to bit.ly/DTM class, all uppercase, then you would get access to the 10-week intensive. And man, when I tell you that thing is going to shift you completely in your mind, in your heart. And we look at the business of speaking as well as the heart of speaking. So many people do one or the other, and I don't feel as though you can. You cannot separate the two. When you separate the two, you find yourself missing out on opportunities. But when you actually put it together, the business piece of it and the heart piece of it, that is how you come 100%. You're fully invested in what it is that you can share with people. And man,
So if any of you have any question about that particular class, that intensive, that Altavisa is offering, I'm saying this. She didn't ask me to. I'm saying it because I took it, and I took it. And when I thought that I'll just take this as, a refresher because I took speaking in college, I am going to share with you this. I promise you, the things when speaking that I was taught in college, have no idea that my whole world would be shaken in such a way as, why didn't I learn this in college? I paid hundreds, thousands of dollars, and what I walked away from was nothing like what I learned in college. If you want to know about the business end of it, and if you want to know about the speaking end of it, I suggest that you take this. Take it from me. I took it. You will be more than pleased. I just thought that I shared that out to be. You didn't ask me to say that, but I am a product of that. No, hear it this way. I am a product of that intensive, and it is all of that and a bag of your chips, your mama's chips, your cousin's chips. It's just bad. It is.
rap snacks, listen.
Listen,
Oh my goodness. I remember seeing Thea do her first speech about domestic violence and what she had endured. And I was so proud just to see her up there. And when she got down, she said, "Oh my goodness, coach, and I didn't talk about this part, and I forgot this part." And I was just like, Thea, look at the response. You did get up there, and you did it in such a way that people remembered who you were. And literally to this day, she stood out from the crowd. And that's the most important piece. You know, it can be 10, 15 people all speaking about the same exact topic, but you find your footing in order for you to be able to stand out from the crowd. And when you do that, you set yourself up for success. That part. And since then, I've seen her go and speak at different, advocacy programs. I've seen her be, get certificates and awards. And I've seen her go and speak in different cities. I've seen her go and do so many things, even to the point where she has gone and connected with City Hall in her own city, in the city of Philadelphia, to be able to work with them on different things when it comes to domestic violence. We don't understand how far our voice can go until we use it.
You need good coaching. You better get in. That's all I'm saying. And she's not paying me, and she's not, pulling my hair. And you better no. In all honesty, you need good coaching. Please don't think that you may go a foot or two on your own, but you can go so much further with the proper support. Okay, it's like a good bra, y'all. You know, women, you know, you you can go much further with a good bra, but you ain't right all day. You know, you're not gonna go. So go get your support. Go get you some good speaker support spanks. That's what you gonna call it. Just get the good support. And it's here.
And
Just
it's funny because whereas most speaking programs, they don't have like a way for you to really connect with opportunities, a way for you to really connect with interviews and media. You get all of that. And I've seen people charge $10,000 and $5,000 for this course, and you don't get half of the stuff that you get in mine. And I just sit back and I go, you'll be going back to that person because they only gave you part of the training. And then they're going to say, oh, and if you want to be able to do this, come back and get this. Oh, and if you want to be able to do this, you got to come back and get that. Like, why do we have to nickel and dime people? We don't. We do not have to nickel and dime people. So
I don't know of any other coach when you call and say, oh, I'm speaking here, and if you're not busy, and they show up. When you have a speaking opportunity or you're receiving an award and your coach shows up. If in the area, and I'm not just speaking about me, I'm just speaking about for other clients, they can tell you if the coach is available, she shows up. You may turn around and you may in the middle of a speech and you do this thing. Yeah. Show up. That's support. And to be the loudest cheerleader or the quietest because you shut her down in some way. Coach who shows up. Don't sleep this class. I'm just saying.
Don't do it. Don't do it. And so I'm super excited. Thank you so much, Dorothea, for coming on.
You're welcome.
Guys, this topic, again, is one that really is close to my heart. As the founder of the World Voice League, this is part of the reason why we do what we do is to help women who have gone through domestic violence to be able to take this to a whole nother level. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for all of those that shared out the broadcast. We appreciate you. You can come back with any comments, questions. By all means, place them in the section below, and we'll come back and engage with you there. That being said, until next time, don't forget to press it out. See ya.